The reality checks keep coming. Car manufacturer Volvo, they've abandoned their target to produce only electric vehicles by 2030.
Volvo has just made a groundbreaking announcement that's shaking up the auto industry. Their new plug-in hybrid electric vehicle offers an impressive 125 miles of all-electric range, far beyond current hybrid standards. This leap in performance could redefine what's possible for hybrid vehicles and push the boundaries of electrification. As competitors scramble to catch up, one question remains: how will this innovation influence the future of green driving? Let's take a closer look at what it means for the industry. Volvo's hybrid power and performance. Volvo Cars is stepping up its game with a bold new offering, the XC70 plug-in hybrid crossover, promising a 400 horsepower engine and an impressive 200 kilometer, which is around 125 miles of all-electric range. This makes it the longest battery-only range among all of Volvo's current plug-in hybrid models. The XC70 is not just about performance though, it's a revival of an iconic name and a strategic move for the company to meet the growing demand for extended range hybrids. The XC70 will be based on Volvo's new SMA platform, which is specifically designed to support extended-range plug-in hybrids. This marks a big step forward for Volvo as it ventures into a market that blends traditional gasoline power with the increasing push for greener alternatives. Volvo is focusing on the future while offering a highly appealing choice for customers who aren't ready to make the jump to fully electric vehicles just yet. The XC70 will be available for order in China later this year, showing how the company is adapting to local demands for more hybrid options. Håkan Samuelsson, the president and CEO of Volvo Cars,
big push for EVs as well as carbon-neutral manufacturing. Håkan, I know that you're going to be showing us the XC40 Recharge.
Explains that the XC70 represents the brand's entry into the extended-range hybrid segment. It's not just about adding another model to the lineup, it's about maintaining a balanced portfolio while offering a bridge to full electrification. He emphasizes that the XC70 is an example of regionalization, adjusting to what customers specifically want in different markets, especially in China, where demand for hybrid options continues to soar. Reports suggest that the XC70 shares a platform with the 400 horsepower Lynk & Co 08. While the technical jargon may get complicated, the bottom line is this: under the hood, the XC70 boasts a 1.5 litres turbocharged engine paired with dual electric motors. This combination offers serious power while maintaining energy efficiency. The focus here is on providing both an exhilarating driving experience and an eco-friendly solution, with the battery range being a key selling point for those looking to reduce emissions without sacrificing performance. Visually, the XC70 stands out with a design that's unmistakably Volvo. At the front, it features the brand's signature shield-like closed grille, a hallmark of Volvo's most recent all-electric models. Paired with an active grille shutter, the car automatically adjusts the airflow to improve aerodynamics, cabin temperature, and cooling, ensuring maximum efficiency. It's a clever design tweak that works to optimize energy use, helping to extend driving range and improve overall performance. The headlights are another striking feature. Volvo's iconic Thor's hammer design has evolved into dynamic daytime running lights, which add an extra layer of modernity to the vehicle. Below these DRLs are matrix LED headlights that adapt intelligently to different road and traffic conditions. This means better visibility and safer driving, without the risk of blinding other drivers on the road. It's a thoughtful upgrade that adds both style and functionality. At the rear, the XC70 incorporates Volvo's signature vertical taillights, giving it a sleek, contemporary look. The design is undeniably Volvo, yet it also pays homage to the brand's roots, drawing inspiration from the V70 Cross Country, the vehicle that started the entire XC line. The V70 was a pioneer in the crossover SUV segment, and the XC70 is a modern reimagining of that spirit, combining old-school Volvo DNA with cutting-edge hybrid technology. With the XC70, Volvo is making a bold statement. They're committed to sustainability without compromising on style or performance. The new XC70 promises to be a game-changer, offering customers a glimpse into the future of hybrid vehicles while staying true to the brand's legacy of safety, design, and innovation. Volvo's ES90, the new XC70, isn't nearly as boxy as the classic cross-country wagons that used to roam the suburbs like tanky Swedish Labradors, but that's the trade-off. In 2025, smooth curves and slippery shapes take priority, and the XC70 plays along. It drops the nostalgic square edges in favor of aerodynamic gains while keeping the rugged spirit somewhere in the background, probably hidden behind a sculpted rear bumper and eco-friendly paint. Still, fans of Volvo's more recent design language won't feel like they're missing out. If the sleek ES90 and massive X90 are anything to go by, XC70 drivers are still getting the premium treatment, just less box, more battery. While the XC70 prepares to make its plug-in hybrid debut, the ES90 swoops in with full electric swagger. Built on Volvo's SPA2 platform and running an 800V architecture, this is a sedan, charging faster than most people can finish their coffee. With 350 kW fast charging, the ES90 claims to jump from 10% to 80% battery in just 20 minutes. And because it uses a 102 kWh battery pack, you're not getting short-changed on range either. In fact, the WLTP estimates sit at 700 kilometers, or roughly 430 miles. Even under the stricter EPA standards, that still translates to a solid 350 plus miles. So yes, it's fast, both in charging and acceleration. The dual-motor performance version pushes out 670 horsepower and hits 0 to 60 mph in just 3.9 seconds. Meanwhile, the more reasonable AWD variant delivers 442 horsepower, still zipping to 60 in just over 5 seconds. And for the minimalist crowd, a single-motor RWD version clocks in at 329 horsepower with a 6.7-second sprint, still quicker than most luxury sedans with half the tech. The ES90 isn't just about what's under the hood, or, technically, under the floor. Its drag coefficient of 0.25 makes it Volvo's most aerodynamic car to date, which is impressive considering the brand isn't exactly known for building teardrop-shaped race cars. That low drag not only boosts efficiency, but also helps stretch the battery range, especially at highway speeds, where wind resistance usually eats into mileage. Even the interior plays a role in reducing noise and enhancing airflow. And in typical Volvo fashion, they didn't stop at good. They reached for full sensory immersion. Inside the ES90, passengers are surrounded by 25 Bowers & Wilkins speakers pumping out 1,610 watts of Dolby Atmos audio, complete with an Abbey Road Studios mode. Underneath all that Scandinavian elegance is a serious computing brain.
Moving on to the center display, the infotainment screen, this has been updated for the 2025.5 model year.
The ES90 uses a core system powered by dual NVIDIA Drive AGX Orin chips, giving it enough processing power to support future autonomous features, intelligent driver aids, and next-level infotainment. There's also Digital Key Plus, which lets drivers unlock the car using their phone or smartwatch. Bi-directional charging hardware is already built in too. Software activation will come later, but once enabled, the ES90 can potentially power home appliances or even send electricity back to the grid. This turns the car into something more than just a vehicle. It becomes a mobile energy station, as long as local infrastructure plays along. For a luxury EV, the ES90 also knows how to be useful. The AWD versions can tow up to 4,109 pounds, and even the rear-wheel drive model handles 3,007 pounds without drama. There's also a 22-litre frunk, enough for charging cables, a backpack, or some groceries that you'd rather not mix with muddy shoes in the back. And while colour options aren't usually headline-worthy, Volvo gives buyers 7 exterior paint choices and 4 wheel sizes ranging from 20 to 22 inches. These details matter when you're spending luxury car money and want your EV to stand out in the Whole Foods parking lot. The launch is scheduled for the late third quarter, starting at around 400,000 yuan, which is roughly $55,000. Volvo plans to begin sales in select European markets, including the UK, Germany, Sweden, and France. But there's still no confirmation on whether the ES90 will make it to the US. What's holding things up? Blame the Trump-era tariffs. Volvo has just announced a massive $2 billion restructuring plan to help absorb costs and drive growth after its first quarter income dropped by nearly 60%. CEO Håkan Samuelsson.
Have a good combination. I think we have a very big interest from investors to invest into EV companies.
Explained that the automotive industry is in an unusually difficult phase, and the company has no choice but to tighten spending. The plan includes SEK 3 billion in variable cost cuts, SEK 5 billion in indirect spending efficiencies, and SEK 10 billion in cash actions to reduce working capital. So while the cars are getting smarter, faster, and better looking, the finances behind them are undergoing serious repairs. Even a brand built on Scandinavian calm isn't immune to global turbulence. When it comes to availability, Volvo's launch strategy is clearly Euro-centric. The ES90 will debut in 17 European countries, including Germany, France, Italy, the UK, and the Nordics. That makes sense. Europe's stricter emissions rules and stronger EV incentives mean this sedan has a ready-made audience. And while it's still unclear when or if it'll make its way to the US, the specs suggest Volvo is aiming squarely at premium EVs like the Tesla Model S, the BMW i5, and the Mercedes EQE. With faster charging, more range, and better audio than most of its rivals, the ES90 doesn't need to shout to prove a point. It just quietly overshadows them with numbers that matter. The result? A refined electric sedan that's practical, powerful, and surprisingly fast for something wearing a Volvo badge. And if this is where the XC70 is headed, it's clear Volvo's hybrid and electric future is more polished than ever. What about the XC70 fans? People still miss the old XC70, and yes, it was a brick on wheels, but it had personality. Still, if the ES90 and its sibling EX90 are where Volvo is headed, it's hard to feel too bad. Boxiness is out. Clean lines and clever engineering are in. The new generation of Volvos might look different, but they still carry the same quiet confidence the brand has always had, just with less drag and a whole lot more voltage. Even those hesitant about giving up their Tesla Model Y are starting to look over at what Volvo is doing. The ES90 may not have Tesla's self-driving tech, at least not yet, but the charging speed and safety features are more than enough to start turning heads. Volvo isn't just tinkering with its product lineup anymore. It's rewriting the whole playbook. With tariffs looming and electric vehicles taking over the road faster than expected, Volvo is restructuring itself at every level, from global regions to local factory floors, all in an effort to stay competitive while chasing a fully electric future. The company is narrowing its focus to three things: profitability, electrification, and regionalization. These aren't just buzzwords for a slideshow. They're the foundation of a plan that needs to work. Volvo already has a strong foothold in the premium market, with electrified vehicles making up 43% of its sales in the first quarter, but that's still not enough to cushion the impact of tariffs and a rapidly shifting global market. So they're going bigger. To streamline its global strategy, Volvo has carved out a new regional structure called Americas, a catch-all for the United States, Canada, and Latin America. This isn't just a branding decision. It's a practical one, built to manage manufacturing, marketing, and regulation differences in a tighter, more focused way. In the US, the brand is zeroing in on a leaner and sharper product portfolio. They're not just selling what they've got, they're rethinking what makes sense for this region. Part of that effort includes ramping up production at Volvo's plant in Charleston, South Carolina, where the EX90 is built. But even that comes with challenges. Most of the EX90's components still come from Europe, which means that even locally assembled cars are affected by Trump-era tariffs. Earlier this month, Volvo officially started production of the EX30 at its Ghent factory in Belgium. This move is designed to build inventory quickly and meet the growing demand expected through the second half of 2025. The EX30 is one of Volvo's most compact and affordable EVs, and getting it out in high volume could help the brand reach younger and first-time EV buyers. However, because the EX30 is imported into the United States, it won't be immune to additional costs. Tariffs will raise its price tag, even if it's one of the more budget-friendly options in Volvo's lineup. So while it's an exciting launch for Europe and other regions, in the US it comes with financial complications. Volvo recently pulled the wraps off its newest electric sedan, the ES90. This is the sixth all-electric model under the brand, joining the EX90, EM90, EX40, formerly XC40 Recharge, and the smaller EX30. Like its siblings, the ES90 is built on Volvo's Superset tech stack, a software-driven platform designed to handle advanced features like driver assistance, vehicle connectivity, and battery optimization. This tech stack is part of Volvo's long-term EV strategy. It's not just about making electric cars, it's about making smart electric cars. The ES90 plays a big role here, offering advanced charging architecture, a spacious interior, and a clean design that leans more futuristic than traditional Volvo sedans. In China, Volvo is taking a slightly different approach. The brand is preparing to launch its first extended-range plug-in hybrid model later this year. This move is tailored to the specific needs of Chinese buyers, many of whom still prefer the flexibility of hybrids in a market where charging infrastructure isn't always reliable or consistent. This is a regional move, but it reflects the broader global strategy. Volvo isn't taking a one-size-fits-all approach to electrification. Instead, it's adapting, depending on where the car will be sold, what buyers want, and what infrastructure is available. Volvo's core strategy hasn't changed. The company remains committed to becoming a fully electric car maker. Even with a softer auto market overall, nearly 1 out of every 5 vehicles Volvo sold in the first quarter was fully electric. That number is only expected to grow as more models like the ES90 and EX30 enter the lineup. Behind all the corporate language and production targets is a company trying to future-proof itself. Volvo knows it can't just wait for market trends to settle down. It has to lead in them. Whether it's shifting regions, cutting costs, or building smarter EVs, every step seems to be part of a larger effort to build an identity that survives beyond the gasoline era. Volvo's new S90 looks sharp. Volvo just pulled the curtain back on the refreshed 2026 S90 plug-in hybrid, calling it their most elegant, most comfortable version yet. It comes with nearly 80 kilometers, or about 50 miles of electric-only range, and gets a sleek update in both design and tech. Sounds great on paper, but if you live in an English-speaking country, don't get too excited. You probably won't be seeing one in your driveway, or your neighbors, or anywhere really. Despite the upgrades and the fancy new press shots, Volvo has reportedly decided not to bring the updated S90 to the US, Canada, the UK, or any major English-speaking market. It's staying mostly in Asia. The sedan isn't dead globally, but it might as well be if you live outside of China or a select few other places. This decision isn't all that surprising if you've been following the market lately. Big sedans don't sell like they used to, especially in the US, where SUVs continue to dominate every single sales chart. And then there's the ongoing issue of tariffs, which are still complicating the import game, particularly for European automakers like Volvo. Add in the fact that Volvo is doing pretty well without the North American market propping it up, and suddenly, skipping the US feels like a calculated move, not a loss. Volvo's Chief Product and Strategy Officer, Erik Severinsen, made it clear that the S90 still plays a major role in the company's future, but only in certain regions. He explained that both the new S90 and the fully electric ES90 are key parts of the product lineup in select Asian markets, especially for buyers who still want a full-size luxury sedan with Volvo's signature focus on safety. Volvo is making a strong push to frame the S90 plug-in hybrid as basically an electric vehicle with extra range security. They're not just calling it a hybrid, they're marketing it as an electric car with a backup plan. According to Volvo, The S90 offers enough battery range for most drivers to get through their daily commute without using gas at all. They claim nearly half the miles driven in their latest plug-in hybrid models come from electric-only power. That kind of data plays well in places like China, where plug-in hybrids are seen as a practical step toward full electrification. It also helps that Volvo has major production capacity in China, which makes the logistics easier and tariffs less painful. It's simply cheaper to build and sell the S90 where it's already located. This isn't just a Volvo problem, it's a plug-in hybrid problem in general. Automakers love to advertise the high electric range and low emissions, but that only works if drivers actually charge their cars. Volvo owners seem more likely than most to actually plug in, especially compared to something like the Jeep Wrangler 4xe crowd. Still, it's not guaranteed. Even so, Volvo seems committed to the hybrid model in specific markets. The company has reason to believe that there's still a segment of buyers who want the size and comfort of a full sedan, paired with a decent electric range and a gas engine as backup. In a world obsessed with crossovers, the S90 still aims to be a calm, confident cruiser. All this buzz around the S90 also quietly sets up the spotlight for the fully electric ES90, which shares much of the same styling and architecture. While the S90 is trying to convince people it's basically electric, the ES90 doesn't have to explain anything. It just is. And given Volvo's goal of becoming a fully electric brand, it's easy to see why they're already nudging people in that direction. The S90 plug-in is still coming out this summer in China, with a few other regions to follow later. The rest of the world will have to watch from afar, unless Volvo changes its mind. The electrification push is getting serious. Volvo isn't playing coy about where it's headed. The company has already declared its long-term goal to become a fully electric car brand. And it's not just a vague, sometime in the future plan. Volvo wants all of its new vehicles to be fully electric by 2030. No hybrids, no gas-only options, just plug and drive. The updated S90 might look like an in-betweener, but it's really part of that broader transition strategy. The message here is simple: get used to charging cables. But here's the twist. Plug-in hybrids like the S90 are becoming less of a stepping stone and more of a temporary fix. Volvo knows that too, which is why the ES90, the fully electric version built on the same Superset EV platform, is quietly being positioned as the real star. That car doesn't come with a backup engine. It's clean, all electric, and clearly the future Volvo wants to sell. The S90 is just there to buy a little more time for those who aren't ready to go all in. There's one reason the plug-in S90 still gets any attention: China. The Chinese market is still open to sedans, especially large luxury ones. There's still demand for PHEVs among city drivers who want electric perks without completely giving up the familiarity of a fuel tank. Local incentives and emissions regulations make PHEVs a strategic play, not just a nostalgic one. And since Volvo manufactures most of these vehicles in China anyway, it's cheaper and easier to sell them there without dealing with export headaches. Tariffs, shipping costs, and global production challenges don't really apply when the car stays on its home turf. Meanwhile, back in the US, Volvo is dealing with an entirely different problem. With Trump-era tariffs potentially making a comeback, the idea of importing European or Chinese-made electric cars into America is becoming more expensive and a lot more political. Even the EX90, which Volvo builds in Charleston, South Carolina, isn't completely safe. That's because many of its parts still come from Europe. So despite being made in America, it's not American enough to avoid tariff drama. This is exactly why Volvo is tightening its regional strategies and moving toward more localized production. That also explains the recent creation of Volvo's new Americas region. By grouping the US, Canada, and Latin America into one regional unit, Volvo hopes to streamline operations, reduce costs, and react faster to political and economic shifts. It's the carmaker version of keeping your drama in one group chat instead of spreading it all over the place. Volvo's South Carolina plant isn't just for show. The company plans to ramp up production there, especially as new EVs like the EX90 and eventually the EX30 roll out in North America. The EX30, which just began production in Belgium, is expected to hit US shores later in 2025, even though it's going to face a tariff bump along the way. Volvo knows the EX30 will still be a key player in the American EV market because of its price point and design. But it's not just about EVs anymore. It's about where those EVs are made. The US government, under both Democratic and Republican leadership, has made it clear that the future of auto incentives is tied to local production. That means if Volvo wants its cars to qualify for tax credits and avoid tariffs, it has to build more of them on US soil. The Charleston plant, once a side project, is now a central piece of Volvo's North American survival plan. While America wrestles with EV policy and tariffs, China is speeding ahead. Volvo has already started laying the groundwork for new EV and hybrid models specifically for Chinese consumers. That includes the first extended-range plug-in hybrid, set to launch later this year, which will offer even more electric-only miles before switching to gas. It's a logical next step for Volvo in a country where city emissions rules are tightening fast. This Chinese strategy is about staying competitive. Local brands like BYD and NIO are producing stylish, affordable EVs at a rapid pace. For Volvo to hold its place in the Chinese market, it has to match that energy. And thanks to Volvo's connection to Geely, its Chinese parent company, it has access to the resources and networks to make that happen. It's becoming clear that Volvo is no longer trying to make every car for every market. The S90's quiet withdrawal from English-speaking countries isn't a retreat, it's a redirection. The company is focusing on electrified vehicles, streamlining production in its major markets, and building region-specific strategies that avoid unnecessary costs and political barriers. And that's where the S90 really fits in, not as a universal flagship, but as a specialized offering in a market that still wants what it offers. In 2025, Volvo doesn't need every global model to sell everywhere. It just needs each one to sell where it counts. Volvo's bigger shift. The S90's quiet phase-out in the West is a signal. Volvo is pulling away from the old global template where one model had to win everywhere. Instead, it's focusing on building region-specific momentum, especially as electric competition heats up. The company knows that the real race isn't just to electrify, but to localize. And that means more than changing drivetrains. It means rethinking where and how its cars are sold, assembled, and promoted. This shift becomes even more obvious when looking at Volvo's electrification rollout. It's not just a lineup update, it's a full restructure of how Volvo wants to exist in the next decade. With pressure from both policymakers and the market, Volvo isn't just launching EVs for the sake of headlines. It's planning production pipelines, tariff workarounds, and tech integration all at once. Which brings us to the tech side of things. One of the biggest moves Volvo has made recently is doubling down on its Superset tech stack. This isn't just some buzzword-laced software suite. It's the underlying system that powers everything from infotainment to safety and autonomous driving features. With the EX90 and ES90, Volvo is showing off what happens when a car is built from the ground up with code in mind, not just engines. The Superset stack means more over-the-air updates, smarter sensors, and fewer hardware limitations. Volvo wants its future cars to be platforms, not products. It wants them to improve after purchase, not just age out. The move also makes production more efficient, because a shared tech base means more modularity and less time rebuilding systems for each model. The goal here is consistency. Whether you're driving an EX30 in Belgium, an EX90 in South Carolina, or an ES90 in China, the core driving experience, interface, and safety setup will feel familiar, and that familiarity gives Volvo more room to differentiate with design, pricing, and region-specific features, while keeping the back end clean and scalable. With all this talk of sedans and software, it's easy to forget what might be Volvo's most important weapon right now, the X30. This compact electric SUV is small, sharp, and built to win in cities where space, price, and tech matter more than size or speed. The X30 is already being produced at the Ghent plant in Belgium, and it's expected to be a volume player in Europe before making its US debut in late 2025. Even with tariffs, it's likely to be one of Volvo's most competitively priced EVs, undercutting rivals like the Tesla Model Y and even holding its own against more budget-friendly entries from Hyundai and BYD. But Volvo isn't trying to out-Tesla. It's trying to offer a more grounded, safety-first alternative in the same price range. That means a smaller battery, a simplified interior, and fewer performance gimmicks. The EX30 isn't for the drag strip, it's for city streets, urban families, and first-time EV buyers. And that's exactly who Volvo is targeting as it reshapes its brand image. The disappearing S90 and the rising X30 aren't two separate stories. They're chapters in the same shift. Volvo is walking away from the old luxury playbook, long sedans, leather overload, gas engines, and leaning into something leaner, more practical, and more scalable. Cars like the EX30 and the ES90 are signals that Volvo's identity is moving faster than it ever has before. It's also not trying to save every market. Canada and the UK might not get the new S90, and that's fine by Volvo's standards. The company doesn't want to force-fit models into places where demand just isn't there. Instead, it's channeling energy into markets that align with its future: electrified, urban, tech-forward, and locally assembled whenever possible. And if some countries get left out in the process. Volvo seems comfortable with that. Volvo's new plug-in hybrid is turning heads, but the big question is, will it set the standard for the future of electric driving? Or is it just a glimpse of what's to come? Drop your thoughts in the comments below.